Hey,
So exciting to
okay.
have you.
I only see my face. I don't see the camera part. So,
Oh, yeah.
oh
I
dear.
think,
There we
is
go.
your camera off?
Well, yes, I enabled the camera and did all the things.
Oh,
So,
well, at least
give
it's
me a
a
It's always the
moment.
picture.
camera.
Oh, jeez. Turn on the camera.
Okay.
Aha! Ha 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 ha!
Yoo-hoo!
There we go. Hey there.
Yay!
How's it going?
Hello. Oh, I love it. I'm so glad you're here. Before we jump into the interview, I
Yep.
just want to take a moment because the last few weeks we have,
Wait,
we're
it's
having
echoing.
lag. Is it echoey to everybody or just me?
Yeah. I thought it was me.
No, it's really echoing.
Would muting help?
Is that better?
A
Okay.
little bit.
Okay. So working from a woman has explained us, and today I just wanted to officially welcome her as our new producer of Humpday. It's so I'm gonna turn this over to Oklahoma, let her introduce everybody, and get this thing going.
Yeah, no, that echo is still bad.
Yeah.
How's mine?
Echo.
Should we go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do this.
First,
I wonder if, Elisa, if you mute yourself, let me see what that does.
yeah.
I've been muted this right after I start.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. Okay, I see it. Listen. Mute if...
Grab your neighbor, pull up a chair, 'cause we got a lot to say about the world out there at the Humpday
Just love it. So, welcome to Hump Day Exchange, your favorite place to be every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. I'm here with our wonderful hosts, Miss Elizabeth and Mr. Michael. And tonight we're excited to sit down with Representative Melissa Provenzano of House District 79 in Tulsa, Assistant Minority Leader in Oklahoma House. She's a longtime educator and community leader from Tulsa, recognized for her work on education, mental health, and transparency. Go ahead, everybody, drop your questions in the chat, but let's get right into it. Miss Melissa, go ahead and kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh, thank you for having me so much. It was such a hoot going, okay, how do I join a live? How do I do this? I just scroll and love videos of puppy dogs and soldiers returning home. So, whatever. but I am a longtime educator that got tired of cutting my budget. I was a principal for a long time here in Tulsa, and there was the point that I'd cut my budget every single year for a decade, and so I thought enough is enough, and it coincided with the teacher walkout and my representative terming out and not running again. So I came home, told my husband, I said, "All right, here's principal salary, here's a representative salary. Can we do this if I ran?" And he's like, yes. So we did. And 7 years later, here I am. And I'm currently the assistant minority leader. I spent a lot of time on education policy. This past session was real big into access to women's health care, in particular in mammograms. And expanding that for women. And next year, I will move into the leader role for the House Democrats statewide. And so I'm kind of gearing up for that. Of course, I still have to get reelected every year, as you do.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome. I know we have a slew of questions to throw at you, and I'm going to let Michael take it off for us.
Sounds great.
Perfect, Melissa. Again, I'm just really excited to get a chance to talk to you. I saw that you were quite a decorated legislator here. So
Oh boy.
you were named Journal Records as 50 women making a difference and recognized by the Human Rights Campaign.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yes.
I still have my
Can you
flag
tell?
over here somewhere. So.
Can you tell us how important these recognitions are to you and how you can further help your constituents?
Sure. I think, the recognitions are nice, and you get an award, or you get a this, or you get a that, but it validates the work that you do, because, every 2 years you're like, am I even making a difference? I'm a Democrat in Oklahoma. I'm one of those blue dots, and am I getting something done? And when people recognize you and nominate you for, the work that you do, it feels good, but more than that, it also, expands your reach, so more people know, okay, for example, the diagnostic mammogram legislation, I kicked it off a couple of years ago, expanding it a little bit. Then this year we expanded it a lot, and I got a lovely recognition from the Susan G. Komen Foundation for it. But that actually made the knowledge for women and men permeate further in the state on what your rights are under the state law. And I think that's the most beneficial way to use that tool, if you know what I mean. And it's lovely little statues and all of those things, but but to turn that coin over, this last session when we wrote the bill to expand diagnostic mammograms, the governor vetoed it, and he was like, well, it's going to increase insurance premiums. And I'm like, well, actually, here's all these other states where it didn't happen, and we're trying to expand it so you can get more women can get across, or can get their access, because once we had the initial law in place, women were saying, well, listen, I'm in Guyman, and the machines that you included on that law, my doctor doesn't have, because I'm not in Tulsa, Oklahoma City. And so we wrote law to clear up any confusion that insurance companies were kind of creating for women, and also add more machines. And so no matter where you are in the state, you can get covered. So when he vetoed it, women across the state were livid, across the political spectrum. And it went, I think every news station picked it up and ran the story. And so now when you overrode the bill, women all across know exactly what their rights are because of the coverage that events and recognition bring, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Sorry, that was way too long.
No. Elizabeth, do you have any follow-up?
So I just kind of want to. Why is it so echoey? So I like on the mammogram. So yes, because we were all like, wait, you did what?
Yeah.
But I have a coworker that was just recently diagnosed. That I was like, well, guess what I'm interviewing tonight? And she was, oh my God, I love her. I've been following her. It's because of her that I started getting this care. I'm like, I love it. So I wanted you to know that, like, you have people out there that, because of what you're doing, is affecting us greatly.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, yes. And so you have people following you, and,
Oh my gosh, you're just filling my bucket. I mean, because you wonder, it's like, am I screaming into the void 99% of the time? Am I just doing that? But that makes me feel powerful. And I'm actually, here I am on this conversation, but I'm an actually giant introvert, believe it or not. And so, like after this, we'll log off and I won't smile for like 5 hours, and I'll tell my husband not to speak to me. But with this mammogram legislation, like my personal life came into play as well, and being public with that and sharing that, like, inspires other people to share. And I've heard so many stories like that, and each time it's like, yes, we did the right thing. Yes, we stripped away Republican and Democrat and Independent for just a second, and it was amazing, and we did some good things.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know that. I know that once upon a time, gosh, there should have been in like almost 2,000. Like Mercy had like a mobile ultrasound, so they would do like mobile mammograms.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gotten away from that, so hopefully we'll get some of that back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just wanted to give you that.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you have another question, Michael, or Tiffany? I don't remember.
I had a question about about kind of what we're talking about. Do you see the state balancing? I don't know if you really necessarily covered this, but do you see the state balancing preventative care coverage with overall health budget constraints?
Oh gosh, I think. Are you asking? Are we? I mean, this particular coverage.
Oh, you got quiet for a second.
Oh, me? Sorry.
Yeah.
This coverage was for your personal insurance that you get through work, that you get through whatever. I'll tell you, I definitely don't see the state funding healthcare in the way that it should. I'm real worried about our families on Medicaid, and because the coming cuts are going to be devastating. I just actually met with the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health 2 weeks ago now, and they are wanting to cut their budget just in the mental health arena to the tune of about $15 million at the state level. That's not even counting what's about to happen at the federal level. And, to right their ship. And I'm like, wait a second. And what are we doing here? I'm so glad you're righting your ship, but we have the money in the bank to pay for this. Well, we're getting duplicate services. Prove it. What is going on is kind of where we're at, because here in Tulsa we have services that will stop, that keep people alive, especially in the area of addiction recovery, that when that budget gets cut, people will die. And it's not a laughing matter. So I guess, the answer is, we're bringing more balance, but it's kind of like, here's the need, and here's, the inchworm moving along. And so the mammogram coverage helps, but it's a drop. I got to keep moving forward. I mean, I had a gentleman reach out today and said, can you do the same thing for prostate screenings? And I'm like, okay. And I don't want to, breadcrumb it. I would like to do full sweep. Preventative care saves dollars and it saves lives. So why can't we expand?
So I also want to, I'm sorry, I'm sorry about this, but to go with healthcare and mental health, I totally lost my train of thought. I'll get back to it. Sorry. Go ahead, Tiffany. I was like writing it down.
I was going to say that was perfect intro to your mental
my
health.
turn?
Yeah, go ahead, take it off.
Great. So, I personally, great, this is what I remember. I personally work for one of the largest CCBHCs, right, which are mainly funded through the Department of Mental Health, who hasn't paid in over a year, and Medicaid. And so, and one of the things that we used to do through the Department of Mental Health was wellness. That is what made us a CCBHC. Great. Our ERs are overutilized. Our crisis units, our ERs, everything is overutilized. We want you to help these people get on Medicaid, get that primary care, and keep them out of the ERs, right? Like, let's do all these things. That is now being pulled away inch by inch. And so, for me, I work in a MAP program. And so one of the programs cut was naloxone, getting that Narcan. So we, as an agency, like, we're not going to do without it, right? It's necessity. People are going to die without these things. And so I kind of want to know, I know we have a big mental health push, substance use, mental health, and education. So some of these things that we're like asking for, we've had and still kind of do. It's getting yanked away. So when you talk about our kids in school with those really high ACE scores, um, that sometimes the only care they get is in school. So to pull those mental health care workers out of the schools, I mean, like what, kind of what's your take on that? What is something that you're doing or our legislators doing? Because I'm very passionate. I know my passion comes up as aggression sometimes because I get so passionate. But I get very passionate about mental health services in our schools for our kids. Because now, not only were they traumatized before, they are beyond trauma right now.
Well, so I mean, I can advocate. I'm a member of the mental health caucus. I stepped back as chair and let someone step up because I'm moving into this leadership role. But I can tell you as a principal, when I know what works because I went into a school here in Tulsa. When I was a principal, and it was a school in crisis. They had just gone through Project Schoolhouse, and we consolidated different schools. And this particular school had kids from different parts of the community here in Tulsa that never really crossed paths otherwise. And it was a toxic powder keg of issues, and it was 100% free and reduced population. And so it was just crisis after crisis. And so we actually brought in a social services and mental health provider, gave them an entire classroom in my building. And I said, listen, here's the thing, yeah, we want to take sooner care, but I want everybody seen. And so I'll go out and find private funding for those who don't want to, sign up for sooner care or can't for whatever reason. Just figure it out. And that first year, my discipline issues dropped dramatically. My attendance increased dramatically because if you have a kid coming to school, say first hour, and overnight dad was just arrested and hauled off in front of them, or they had to move in the middle of the night, or something along the lines. They don't walk in your door ready to conjugate verbs or do algebra. That is like low on the totem pole. But what they do walk in the door is they bring in all that baggage, and maybe somebody speaks to them wrong, or maybe somebody says something that's a trigger, and then you have an issue. But if you can catch that at the beginning of the day and somebody's like, something's not quite right with this kiddo, let's check on them and pull them out. In my case, it was Dayspring that we had in the schools, and figure out what's going on. Number one, you keep the whole rest of a class or a building moving in the right direction. Education is the rising tide that lifts all ships. And so they're going, but you're also helping stabilize this kid, figure out what's going wrong, get them ready to return to class. But then when they do, then, those folks would reach out into the community and say, okay, this, and this is going on with this kid. How do we do wraparound services so we can keep them in school too? When none of that happened, they start a fight, they get suspended, they're gone for 2 weeks. And then now where are we? They're behind in education. And so, we saved so many dollars and so much time, and we helped kids with that's what we, when I joined the mental health caucus, I'm like, well, what do we do to make this happen? And what we're seeing right now with the cuts to Medicaid is, you're probably going to lose, unless you can pay out of pocket, you're going to lose those services. And, here in Tulsa, that's a critical need. And so, when I'm going to the Department of Mental Health, and saying, you can't cut this, you have the money to do it. I don't understand why you want to cut it. Well, we want to find efficiencies. Okay, that's fine. But, I want to save lives. And so find your efficiencies, but prove to me that you're not cutting something that they can't find somewhere else. And so that's kind of the stalemate we're at right now. 2 weeks ago, I've actually been out of town. My husband and I went on vacation and came back. And it's like one of the few times that I've taken a break and completely disengaged. This is the first interview I've gotten since I got back. But when it's like when you're sitting in an office in Oklahoma City, it's awful easy to go, oh, these are duplicated services. But you have to say, prove it. Where are they duplicated? How are we going to connect this kid to these services and keep them in school at the same time? And that's the hard conversation we're having at the moment. And it's not going well. But it's not really my job to make people, that work at the state
Right.
Sorry, love that.
It's like, I caught myself doing that at work the other day.
It's our new thing now.
I was like, slay. No, but it's refreshing to, like, we know what the issue is, like, but what's the solution? And what are we going to do about it? And some of it we don't even really know what the problem is anymore. I just know that our children are getting more and more traumatized, not only by our leadership, but just the world. That, they're having to see things that I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Well, and we know how to do this in your profession. You know what works. When I was working in education, I knew what would help kids with academics. Make sure their social and emotional needs are met. Make sure they're showing up. Once you take care of those things, and once they start showing up, those kids will stand in traffic for you because they know you're going to show up. And once they start showing up every day and not missing 1 out of every 10 days, guess what happens? Test scores go up, comprehension goes up. There's no magic formula. And when you look at the state of education and you apply the same basic common sense principle to any other area of government or social need, you'll see results. Let's focus on it. Let's fund it. You'll get results. But we just have too many people playing politics. And the longer I'm in this gig, to borrow a very old 1970s term, I see that it's not necessarily Democrat or Republican. It's about power and more power, and money's mixed in there. And so we've got to stop worrying about power and money, and realizing that when we help societies lift up, and you actually save money in the long haul. But maybe people don't really much care about saving money. Maybe they want us to spend more of our hard-earned dollars, and push it into their pockets. So it is.
Word. Lisa said, speaking of education.
I promise my next answer will be like 5 words.
No, keep it. This is you. This is your interview.
This is all you, right?
We want to hear from you, absolutely. Since we are talking about education, I do have a couple questions. You've supported, I can see your passion in education, by the way. I love that. That's awesome. I did want to comment on that. I could tell that kind of drives you. You've supported raising minimum salaries and expanding higher ed access for children of teachers. What other concrete steps should lawmakers take to make teaching a sustainable career in Oklahoma?
I mean, we have got to, the elephant in the room is our State Department of Education superintendent. He's got to go. He can't come back. Now, whether the news today that he's going to be resigning at the end of the week, we can all party on that later, or we can hope and figure, figure out what we're going to do. But, somebody's going to replace him. But right now, when teachers are surveyed, typically they say salary, because every time we raise salaries on the step, every single time, every single state around us goes, oh, Oklahoma raised their salary. We're going to also raise our salary. And we are now back down at the bottom for compensation. And, if you're living on the Kansas border, what are you doing? If you're living on the Texas border, what are you doing? You're going to go make money somewhere else. And the teacher skill set is something that's very marketable in other arenas. And so if we want them to stay, then we have to compensate. And we also have to take the target off their backs, because that is the number one reason teachers are leaving right now, is this attack mode on people in the classroom. And they're like, I'm just trying to teach kids and help them. And if you think that I'm after them, what I really want is for them to write their name at the top of a piece of paper, and so let's focus on what really matters. And, and that's it. It's not hard. Again, it's, compensate them for the work that they do. There's so much unpaid labor. It's like being a stay-at-home parent. You're not paid for that, but you're providing for the kids while someone else is going to work. You should be drawing a salary, because it's if you were putting your kids in daycare, you'd be paying a heck of a lot more. For teaching, we're not compensating them still to this day. And I know that sounds like a broken record, but it is what it is. And if we compensate them and then take the target off their back, then we've got something, and we need a superintendent that elevates teachers and takes pride in what our teachers do. And the interesting thing is, back in, I want to say it was 2010 was the last. I'm going to play politics for a minute here, and I don't know what everybody's political affiliation is, but in 2010 we actually moved into a supermajority, transitioning to 2017, right in there, those years, into a supermajority Republicans. We need some stinking balance, because in 2010 we were ranked 17th in the nation. 2010, those teachers were ranked 17th in the nation. Those teachers are still, we haven't run them off, are still in our classrooms. They didn't become poor teachers. They knew what they were doing then. They know what they're doing now. We need to say, what is it that you need? Let's go get that for you, and then get out of the way. And that's it. It doesn't get much more difficult than that. And so I think, that's why there's just, today my phone right around 1:00 just started blowing up because of the news that Ryan Walters might resign. And I'm like, I'm just not even going to believe it until it actually happens. Then I'll do a little dance and move on and go, okay, but who is the governor appointing to fill that slot until November 2026? Is it somebody worse? Because the names I've seen rolling around, somebody that's actually done the job. Heaven forbid we have a school superintendent with a superintendent's license to step into that role, that understands the funding formula, that understands, if you want teachers to stay, here's what you have to do, A, B, and C. So, well, I just thought that's a 5-word response, not a 5-minute response. So
I do have a follow-up question, and looking ahead to 2026, if you could choose one, what is the single biggest education reform you'd like to see passed, and how would it directly benefit students and families?
Taking the superintendent, chopping off the top, replacing the superintendent. If we get rid of that conversation.
Oh, can't hear you.
If we elect someone new for the state superintendent role, that is reform in a nutshell. But let's remove that for just a minute, because we have done some serious damage in the last 3.5 years. That's going to take some time. We've got to restore faith in our teachers. And you do that by, number one, supporting with the salary that they require, but also with the funding that they need to get the job done, and buy correct, relevant materials. Gone are the days that textbooks and notebooks, got it done. We're sitting here talking on TikTok. How do teachers use the tools of today for the jobs of today to hook kids? Because, like when I was a teacher, it was put your phone away, put your phone away, put your phone away. And now we've got to use it as a tool, because I'm talking to 4 different people all at the same time and collaborating. And kids right now need that, and we've got to really kind of put them in the driver's seat, and we've got to pay attention to how they're evolving, because they're going faster than we are, and we can learn so much on what we need to train them for the jobs of tomorrow. But we've got to also evolve what the school day looks like, I think. And just really think outside of the box on what is the school day schedule, college versus the regular day. What is, do you do better at night? Do you do, what does an education look like? And then we could really get into some cool, innovative thinking, but we can't even get there yet until we get rid of this gentleman that's that's running the State Department of Education. We cannot think creatively because we spend all of our time running defense.
Very true. Thank you for that breakdown. Let's switch gears. Michael, what you got?
Perfect. Yes. I just want to know your thoughts on school vouchers and how they affect public schools.
Hate them. So, in a nutshell, they drain dollars away from our public schools. And you will hear supporters say, no, they don't. Well, yes, they do, but they just, and when they say no, they don't, they appropriate X amount of dollars, and you don't see a subtraction go to vouchers. But what they do is they take it off the top before you ever see it down at the school level appropriation. And what we're at right now, we've been doing it for 3 years now. We started at $150 million a year. The next year we bumped up to $200 million a year to vouchers. And this last year we bumped it up to the cap of $250 million a year. And what we have found is those parents taking advantage of the vouchers are those parents that are already in private schools. And overwhelmingly, they come from households making $75,000 a year or more. So their ability to pay is far more realistic than someone falling below the poverty line. And so you're draining these dollars away, and eventually, pardon me, I was sick this week, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be fine. I'm well, but it's starting to crack up a bit. But these folks were already paying, and now there is $250 million less in our public school system, where $1 stretched across a classroom goes so much further. So I think it's detrimental. And you only have to look to Arizona to see how devastating it's been. We had bills this last year, and we will again this next year, to take the cap off that $250 million. That'd be the dumbest thing we ever did, because it'll destroy the government budget, and just like it's done in Arizona, and so we've got to be smarter about it. And honestly, until you do it for all kids, it's never going to be fair, because right now the rule is, I might pick you, but not you to come to my private school kid. Guess who gets left out of that most often? It's your low income kids, your kids with special needs, or your kids that look different from the status, from traditional white kids in schools. Overwhelmingly, those kids aren't getting picked, or kids who speak a different language overwhelmingly aren't getting picked. And you'll see people go, oh, but this school over here who takes homeless kids. And I'm like, I'm sorry, the exception proves the rule. Overwhelmingly, there's a certain kind of kid that gets picked for private schools, and we know who it's not.
So down in the comments, it says it's not actually a voucher, right? They just found a workaround for a tax credit.
So tax credit, they do call it a tax credit, but it is set up like vouchers in other states. We were able to keep it at bay for several years by saying, we don't want vouchers. And so the way they worked it is through a tax credit, but ultimately it's a voucher. It's the same thing, a bird by any other name.
Right. Call it how it is.
Go
Is
ahead.
it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yes, go ahead and grab.
I was like, what? Agreed about that. So something I kind of want to kind of throw in here as well, with not only our kids with mental health, substance use, and now we're dealing with homelessness. With some of the contracts that were not renewed, some of those were for the youth shelter. Is there anything in the works, like or anything. It's very disheartening when I have parents that they're not married, having a newborn, and there's nowhere to send them.
Yeah.
Nowhere. And so, kind of the question is, I know that there are some resources in place with like substance use, homelessness with kids, but not everybody has that luxury.
So is your question, where do kids or where do homeless youth go?
Yeah. So what can we do in our even in our education system to support these families?
Well, I mean, educators and school officials are mandatory reporters.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Well, I think somebody's
Elizabeth, try mute yours. See if it's better with the feedback.
Are you there? Okay. Actually, that's a lot better. I mean, school officials and educators are mandatory reporters if they see evidence of harm or homelessness or anything like that. Right now, we're working with the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health to prove, yes, we are losing these services. They're still not quite believing us. But I know that at the city level, there is a lot of effort, at least in Tulsa, and I can't speak for other cities, but the conversation with the county for a low barrier shelter is back on. And I know that Mayor Nichols is working on getting something established, shovel ready, and moving now. And what we have here in Tulsa is a housing crisis that exacerbates the issues that we're having with homelessness. And I think we're about 1,500 homeless individuals, and that includes a large number of children. And so that's our target. I wish I had an actual answer for you, but the Department of Mental Health, quite frankly, is making it a challenge to be able to provide one. And so we actually have, a meeting here in a couple of weeks to kind of press on it again. October 1, I know, is the cutoff for all of these contracts. And I'm worried that it's going to take an awful act happening before we get any movement. But you've seen probably in Tulsa when the governor brought in the troops and cleaned out all these homeless encampments. We're dealing with this crisis where, that was a couple of weeks ago, and the bulldozers were brought in, and everything these people owned was cleared away, including driver's licenses and important papers and those sorts of things. And they scattered. Nobody went to jail. Not one person went to jail, but they went somewhere. And now they're back in those places, and in some places even more, because people just kind of scattered throughout the city. I wish I had an answer, but I would just encourage you to keep legislators in the loop on here's the concrete issue that we're having. And so we can bring those examples to the Department of Mental Health and go, you said this was duplicitous, but I have a homeless child on my hand. Can we please help? And can we please help now? And that's the best I can offer. I wish I could say something more.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very disheartening. I know that I went to the housing forum yesterday. And again, it sounds great in theory, and these are things that we're doing. However, sustainability isn't good because we're not teaching people how to have somebody else. So adult daily living. So if they're taking up the street and putting it in here, and I'm not teaching you how not to be homeless anymore, we're not going to have that sustainability.
Right.
Some things that I come across are, our young adults that also didn't have that coming up, right? They didn't have those influences in school, didn't get those skills from a parent. So part of my question is like, so back in the day we had home ec, right? Future home ec America. I feel we still need something like that in school. Like we still need to be able to teach our youth, like just some of the adult daily living skills that maybe they're not getting at home.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, we're like, rah, rah, ree. Now, I'm not saying that keep your home like America, nor am I giving anybody an idea. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, you have that home ec that kind of taught us things that sometimes it's
How to not burn down the house.
right.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. And some kids get that at home, some kids don't. And we do in the state of Oklahoma, you have the ability to have an elective that is a life skills. You know, you have FCA, I'm sorry, FCCLA, and all of those types of courses, but they're not across the board in every school. Basic living skills. And I think, you know, you're talking about curriculum now. And, you know, we have so many units of English, so many units of math, so many units of science, but there's not a requirement for life skills. And I think we do need to get back to doing those things.
Go ahead, Michael. I know you've got. Does anybody have any follow-up questions on that?
I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
I want to talk about your position on the state board.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain what your work is with your discussion with that?
So I really want to go way into it, but I just got appointed and I'm so excited. And so Senator Carrie Hicks reached out and she's like, "Get ready, friend." And I'm like, okay. So the first meeting that I've been invited to is November 20th, and I would love to go all deep into it after that. I know, you know, it kind of started as making sure we get the backlog of rape kits caught up. But I think it's turned into so much more for the board, and we'll meet 4 to 5 times a year. It's under Attorney General Drummond or the Attorney General, whoever it's going to be after Drummond. But I wish, you know, the pervasiveness of sexual violence in Oklahoma is real and tangible and tied to human trafficking, which, you know, we have in a lot of cases. And I have a nonprofit in my district that fights human trafficking. We have major highways that crisscross the United States right here in Oklahoma with I-35 and I-75 and I-44 and I-40. If you get to Oklahoma, you can be anywhere in the United States within a day. And so it's the trafficking problem is an issue. And so I'm looking forward to working on that and improving and eliminating issues tied to sexual violence, tied to, you know, human trafficking as a result. But I wish I could tell you more. But ask me November 21st.
I hope to have you on that.
That sounds great.
Can I jump in here on this one?
Yeah.
So last session, there was a human trafficking bill that was introduced, stalled in the Senate,
Oh boy.
introduced by Kevin West. On right, I know. I couldn't get my head around this.
Yeah.
Weaver
Yeah.
on the Senate side,
Yeah.
but it's a good bill.
Yeah.
We ran it through Justice AI to see, you know, if there was any like tripping up marginalized communities and stuff.
Right.
There's a couple of things that we were a little concerned about.
Yeah.
But really good start. Is there a way, like, would that be introduced again in February? Or can we get a more reasonable bill? Or can we fix it? Like, what can we do? Because that's important here. We're in the middle.
So no, you're good. So if there's thousands of things that I voted on, so I'm going to kind of take a stab in the dark. It passed out of the House and headed to the Senate and then didn't get a hearing. Is that right?
Yeah. Committee approved it. They didn't hear it on the Senate floor.
Oh, then so we are, you know, we have our legislative sessions are 2 years long. And so if I were you, I would not reinvent the wheel and refile the bill. The bill is passed out of the House. it's it's passed out of Senate committee. All that remains in this 2-year legislative session is for it to go to the floor and to the governor. Those 2 steps versus 10. And so I think that you need to pick it up. Maybe the Senate author, who's the Senate author?
Weaver. You cannot make this stuff up.
So Weaver's awesome with regard to these things. I think perhaps a new Senate author, I know, and that I'm just totally insider baseball gossiping right now. The governor does not care for the senator. And so perhaps a different Senate author might be a good start. And you can just swap those out pretty easy and maybe see if it can get on the floor, because we don't want it to be vetoed when it comes to the governor because of whose name's on the bill. So, speaking from experience. But I would just keep the same bill.
Does anybody have any follow-up questions on that? Michael? Elizabeth?
No, I was just going to throw out. So the agency that we have here in Oklahoma City is the Dragonfly project, and so pretty cool what they're doing.
There are quite a few agencies that collaborate well. Here in Tulsa, we have the Demand Project. We have all of your social justice organizations. I think, you kind of pitch in wherever your skill set is. You just have to keep plugging, and how I traditionally have gotten stuff across the line is I find someone in each district that cares about this issue and say, you call your senator. And so all 50 plus senators hear from at least one person helps a lot.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, because the Dragonfly project is the like the housing. So now we've gotten them out of trafficking, and we're going to therapy. We have all that.
Michael, did you have any other questions? I had one, but I'm going to wait.
You go ahead. I think.
Okay, so part of my spiel for the most part here the past 2 months and going forward into 2026 is getting as many people to run, right, as possible, because it seems almost at least half of the seats go uncontested. So that means obviously they just have to show up and they win. So what advice would you give to younger Oklahomans, especially women, who are thinking about running for office someday?
Come see me. So it's my job now, as the leader-elect is hunting candidates. And the good news, it's actually very hard. It's $500 to file. We can come up with $500 somewhere. If you don't have it, I promise. But the number one reason people don't run is no. That's somebody with a different skill set. I can promise you, anyone on this call has more skills than some of the folks I work with, and I feel like not enough people believe that they can. But what that means is we end up with a lot of people that are independently wealthy or retired, or independent contractors, real estate agents, people that can write their own schedule. Well, they have a certain, they're definitely a part of the population, but not representative of all people. And understanding in Oklahoma, legislative session is from February to May. A lot of the folks I work with who are good, hardworking folks have other jobs. You don't necessarily have to get rid of your job unless it's something that's state funded, like an educator, unfortunately for me. And so, but the other thing, and if I may just speak about the Democratic side for a moment, for the first time, we're truly starting to pulse together. And by that, I mean the House Democrats. I'm in charge of hunting candidates for top target districts. The Senate is Senator Julia Kurt. She's hunting candidates for Senate districts. And then you have the Oklahoma Democratic Party, who is also in charge. And the three organizations of charge of finding, candidates across the state, run somebody in every seat. And then you have Sally's List and all these organizations. But the three big ones are starting to pulse for the first time. In my limited experience. And so, where you had the House spending $1, the Senate spending $1, and the ODP spending $1, we're now spending $1 and packing 3 times the punch, if that makes sense. And so come find us. If you're not sure if you want to run, if you want the nitty gritty on what it takes. I mean, it takes door knocking and dialing, come please vote for me. And you have to, here in this state, got to talk to Republicans. You just do. My district is purple red-ish. And when I first started running, it was 52% Republican, 33% Democrat. The rest were independents. It's now 42% Republican and 33% whatever Democrat, and the rest are independents. Growing independent body in my district and in Tulsa overwhelmingly. But that's because I went to my door. I'm a Democrat, but I'm talking to you as a Republican. Look, I don't have horns. And just let's talk about common sense ideas. And so if you want to run, you're going to have to talk to people. That's the job, even for introverts. But it's not hard, and you'll have help. Don't do it alone.
Love that. Thank you. Yes, we got to do this. Elizabeth, did you have a follow-up question or any other questions?
I actually do, and I keep hearing it sounds echoes worse when I talk. I do have a question about the ODMH with Alan Friesen and then her leaving, because it was my understanding that she was brought in to clean up the mess. And then I guess we're finding out that the mess was too big for her to handle. Is that correct?
Yeah, she didn't have the skill set now.
And now we have people coming in that hopefully know what's going on. I know there's been an excess of embezzlement also.
I don't know that the people at the top have the skill set with regard to mental health. I do know they are making an honest effort at trying to understand. But it's a big dang mess.
You mind if I run it? Okay, sorry. I had one more question. I'm sorry. Michael, did you have yours?
I was just going to mention a comment that somebody had said, if Ron resigned, what would be the top thing immediately after the new board?
If Ryan Walters resigned, what would be, can you say that one more time?
What would be the top things to immediately after the new board?
Of the board? Oh, repeal the social studies standards. 100%. Those social studies standards are nuts. And anybody familiar with how we draft them? We bring in teachers and experts from across the state in all subject areas every cycle to overhaul them. But this year, that was done, but then we brought in PragerU and Heritage Foundation to lay on top of that, and they tweaked it so it was only their curriculum that would meet the standards, and it was some crazy wackadoo stuff. So we've got to repeal the social studies standards. We've got to repeal the testing requirements that were added within the rulemaking process for naturalized citizen tests, all of these different extra things that are just barriers to teachers not getting into classrooms. We've got to make it easier, not harder, for teachers to stay. I think that might be the top things.
Good.
I wanted to touch on this because when we were reading up on you, we were creeping on you. We saw you have a slew of committees you're involved in. So you're very active on several committees, and you've got a lot on your plate. What's next on your agenda? What priorities are you working on right now? Or what can Oklahomans expect from you next?
So I think the things that the bills that I run are constituent driven. And so I can tell you a couple of the things that have been asked of me so far. I think the top one is more teacher recruitment and retention. And that is, are any of you educators on this call? Well, when you're an educator, you come to a new school and you have an evaluation cycle. And if you're brand new, you get evaluated more. And then after 3 years, it's only once or twice a year. And it's kind of nice when that happens. But say you quit and you go to the next school, well, that whole cycle starts again where you're evaluated constantly. And it's a difference between being a new teacher and a career teacher. And the bill that I was asked to run says if a school district chooses to hire somebody that is a career teacher, they can carry that status forward with them if they want. And I think that would be an excellent teacher recruitment tool. The other bill that I know for sure I'll be running is tax law. It's exciting, but it has to do with the voucher parent choice tax credit. The way the bands are set up, we know that the top people that take advantage of the voucher are 75,000 and above. But what I want to disaggregate the bands more because the bottom band is quite wide and it's like 50K or less. And I want to know where the poverty line is, how many people aren't getting picked that apply below the poverty line. So we'll be updating hopefully the tax law to figure that out or be more clear about who's not getting picked and who is. And I think that'll be fascinating. So a couple of things. And then there's a few other things in the pipeline I'm not quite ready to talk about yet. But any legislator worth their salt is going to be listening to constituents and running bills based off of that.
Looking forward to it. Awesome. Miss Elizabeth, any last questions for her?
No, I think I'm good. I'm so glad that you came on. I actually got to meet you a couple of years ago, like 2 years in a row, the lady in blue. When
Oh
yeah, I was like,
Branson and I came.
yes.
Yeah, we were so tired that day. Oh my God, it was April, and we're like, it's deadline week, and you want to hurt everyone. You guys came up there in your blue, and it was so cheerful. I remember that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Is it still echoing? Yep.
Michael, do you have any last questions for Miss Melissa?
I do. I think everything was pretty informative, and I really appreciate the time. Very happy to have you.
all right. Well, thank you guys.
Yes, we really, really appreciate you being on here with us tonight. And to finish up, what's the most important thing you want folks to walk away with? What, for those of us that are watching, how can they support you and your work going forward?
Oh my gosh. You can support any legislator by picking up the phone and letting them know what it is you want and ask for a response. And I just need a more engaged citizenry. It's not just registering to vote. Everybody's like, oh, register to vote. Show up to vote and vote. Quarter of Oklahomans do. Everybody else doesn't. And we would have such a different look and feel to this state. We're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to so many things. And number one among that is showing up to vote. So get engaged. The more voices that we have, the more accurate our representation will be. And right now, I'm so excited.
Awesome. Thank you Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll see you later. and they're like,